Hey everybody, welcome back. Tom here from Whistle Thicket, hanging out with my number one son, baby boy, boy of joy, the son of fun, the boy of joy. I sure do love my son. We're gonna take a little hike on our property. It's still kind of summer-fall transition, and summer is actually the worst time to hike our trails. It's pretty muggy. It gets overgrown with weeds. But we are starting fall. My favorite times to hike on our own property is the fall, early spring, and whenever it snows, I like to hike up there, and it's just really quiet after a good snow. So we're gonna hike up, check some stuff out, and have some fun. We're at the very start of our trail system. This is a new trail that we had built early this summer, and this gives us really good access to our trails. We have several miles of trails we've had built, and our neighbors have trails, so really we have a pretty cool network up there. I don't know how many miles of trails, but I'd say 6 miles of trails, maybe up to 10 miles of trails. There's a lot up there. And it's pretty crazy. From here to the top of the ridge is a mile hike, but there's all these other trails to take on the way up there. So I just want to point out this big tree here. It's not a giant tree, but guess what kind of tree that is? That is a sassafras tree, people. Most of the time when you think of sassafras, you think of, a small understory tree. But this tree kind of defies that, and it's a big old beast. Now, there were some trees near it that have all died over time. There was a big old pine tree that fell recently that was taller than that by maybe 20 feet. But this is a sassafras, people, and sometimes what you think a tree should look like isn't always what it turns out to be. So this is a big old mama for a sassafras. Here's a great plant here, lamb's ear or mullein. It's great to wipe your tushy when you're out in the woods, nice and soft. It has a lot of, medicinal properties as well. But yeah, you never know what you'll find when you're on a little hike. Sometimes we get a groundhog problem on the edge of the pasture, and I think here's one of their groundhog dens. I know on the other side we definitely have groundhogs right now. We have several dogs, but our big dog likes to wander, so she's on one of those special collars, and we don't have it set up for her to go that far where the groundhogs live, but I think I'm going to change it so that she can keep her groundhogs back under control. But these can be dangerous because we have horses, and we don't want a horse stepping in a hole like this. Now, where I'm at right now, the horses can't go, but groundhogs are definitely a problem here. Groundhog hole. We're getting a little bit higher in our property. So we got about 20 acres, but there's almost a 500-foot elevation gain from our house to the ridge. And what's cool is that we actually do see some different species the higher we go. So down below is a lot of walnut. We have a lot of walnut trees down there. And then it starts transitioning to some maple trees. And we have a big patch of locust right here that one day I'll harvest for fences and such. And then we have a good patch of rhododendron. We have mountain laurel. We have a lot of unique species to Western North Carolina, a lot of biodiversity. And even towards the top, we get a few new species. So it's pretty cool to see this transition. Now, of course, if you went from where we're at, about 3,000 feet, to the top of Mount Mitchell, which is the highest mountain on the East Coast, you would see a lot of changes from 3,000 feet to almost 7,000 feet. But it's really cool. I feel really fortunate to live in a place with so much biodiversity. Right behind me is a maple tree. And the last couple of years, I've harvested a little bit of maple syrup. It is a lot of work. I've only used maybe 5 or 6 trees. I'm hoping this fall to go mark some more maple trees higher up. I have a plan and a hope by next spring to have a side-by-side, and then I'll be able to harvest more maple sap to make maple syrup. So I try to use my woods for food products, forest farming a little bit, and also just enjoy it with my kids because this kid's pretty lucky, so is his sister. They got all these trails to play on. So I feel pretty fortunate to have this for them. So one of the reasons we came up here is because last year I planted a whole bunch of pawpaw seeds, which if you don't know about pawpaw, is America's largest native fruit. And we have a tree, a family tree that has fed 5 generations of my wife's family, no joke, including Bubba soon. He hasn't had a pawpaw yet, but hopefully this year he will. And I came to check on these seedlings. I'm pretty sure this is one, and honestly, I know where I planted them, but not exactly after a year. There's some places higher up that I definitely know I planted them, but I think this is a pawpaw, like first year growth. So it's not much, people, but check out what I'm pretty sure is a pawpaw tree. Just this little beauty here, and you can tell that it's a woody tree species. I'm pretty sure that's one of the pawpaws I planted. So here's something I think is cool. This here is a wasp gall, probably an oak gall. I say that because it's near a bunch of acorns and oak trees. But basically, these wasps will lay their eggs, I think inside a developing acorn maybe. And this is what happens to it. And it totally changes the actual structure of the acorn. It's pretty crazy what it can do. And then their babies live inside of it. I'm crushing it up for you. And then their babies live inside of it and hatch out and keep on going. Pretty crazy, pretty crazy. We are about halfway up the mountain here. I don't know if we're going to the top today. But this is another trail that... This was a logging trail, so our property and our neighbors' properties were logged about 30 years ago or so, 40 years ago. And you can see evidence with old stumps. Here's an old tulip poplar that I think got cut down, and then they have all of this growth off of it. So there's definitely some proof of that logging. But we still have some decent aged trees here. This is a forest becoming healthy, if you ask me. A lot of diversity. There's still a lot of tulip poplar, but we still have, I'm going to guess that we have at least 15 species of tree on our property, which I think is pretty cool. We also got these cool boulders. There's a decent sized boulder. Especially in the wintertime, you can really appreciate the boulders because they really start to pop. It's just a beautiful place, and starting to be my favorite time of year to come up here. It's hard to come up in the summer because it's so hot, and Bubba doesn't like the hot. I don't like the hot. But right now we're getting into the prime time that I really enjoy. So I try to come up here with him and or my daughter. Hopefully once a week is the hope.